The last couple of days, I've been following the FTX news like a hawk. And honestly, when I tell you guys that things keep getting more interesting and more interesting and more interesting, I mean it. I mean, seriously, right now over on Twitter, it feels like there's a war going on. And I honestly think that there's gonna be some people that are gonna end up in jail. Because what's going on here, it ain't good. Having said that though guys, I'm going to share with you all in this video every single thing that's new and also a couple of things that are being overlooked. In the whole FTX, Crypto.com, Gary Gensler, Sam Bergman Freed collapse drama. So if you guys are interested in this update, because things got even crazier, make sure that you press that like button and maybe even subscribe to the channel for future updates. To start it off here, this is not something that I'm very excited to share, but we have to be very realistic in saying a couple of different things. The CEO of Binance, and I would say most of the popular crypto spearheads, blockchain spearheads, and I'd say nearly any person of significant entrepreneurial efforts that I've heard talk about it has said that there could be a lot more negativity coming. For example, Elon Musk stated, Bitcoin will make it, but it might be a long crypto winter. And then we also have a couple of others like the ex-White House chief of staff saying the FTX could be the end of the honeymoon phase period. Now, this individual here has a good response by saying, could be the end. It's basically a worthless statement. And then there's also this one is I think you guys will find this one funny. This is Jim Cramer, and he is a very well-known analyst or broadcaster. Not exactly sure what we call him. And he a couple of hours ago stated that every investor in the crypto space should cash out on crypto while they still can. And so I'd say if you're ever looking for a good reason to buy crypto, this might be it, because when taking a look at the inverse Jim Cramer index, you'd be very much up on your portfolio if you always did the exact opposite of what Jim Cramer tells the public to do. However, that's just one front. That's just one piece. That's just one thing. Things, as I just said, are pretty damn interesting with, for example, Sam Bergman Freed going a little bit strange over on Twitter, typing what? H and A? Now, I suppose his Twitter's not been hacked, otherwise I think Elon Musk would have been on the case, as he's regularly posting updates on the FTX drama himself. And honestly, I thought about it for a good while, and I can't really think of any good reason as to why he might want to post this or what the benefit could be, except for potentially trolling, or him being in custody and somebody at the office is just like trying to type something, or he may be set on his pocket, but that would only work if these messages were like after each other. There's hours in between them, 13 hours ago, 12 hours ago, and 15 minutes ago. That does not make a whole lot of sense. Maybe, however, it's a secret message. I mean, guys, there's a very long story that I have to describe to you guys a little bit later regarding Ripple, XRP, and the whole FTX drama as well. There's obviously a lot of questions about who's at fault, how are the connections going around, and, well, questions are finally being asked about Gary Gensler and his involvement in all of this. We already know he's probably looking at crypto right now with a little juicy face trying to overtake everything basically, but obviously because of Ripple and the battle they've had with the SEC, they're not going to let that go so easily. And because we've all seen through the charade, we all know that Sam Bergman Freed was very well connected to the political parties, specifically Democrats, and to Gary Gensler and a couple of people in that little vicinity. We're not going to let that go unhinged. No, we're going to look into every single crevice of it all. But as I just stated, we are going to have to do a nice little update on Ripple, XRP, and kind of what's going on in terms of settlement, as there was apparently a message shown on live television that expected settlement tomorrow, so that could be very interesting. Now, on a complete other side, there's a massive exodus that has begun. And it's, again, what Altcoin Daily refers to as the biggest exodus of Bitcoin ever to cold storage. Right now, what's happening is a massive amount of money is flowing out of exchanges. Crypto.com withdrawals have increased by 1,600%, and people are reporting that other crypto exchanges are having this too, as Crypto.com were given a lot of slack, a lot of shizzles. And I'd say for good reason. Even Mario here got a tweet with 10,000 likes by stating, "Get your money off of the platform immediately. I have enough information from enough credible people, including speakers on stage today, to confidentially recommend this. Hosting a space now, so can't add all the reasons why I'm recommending this, but will do afterwards." In lieu of all of that, there's actually CZ, who came over to Twitter to state, To reduce further cascading negative effects of FTX, Binance is forming an industry recovery fund to help projects who are otherwise strong but in a liquidity crisis. More details to come soon. In the meantime, please contact Binance Labs if you think you qualify. Also welcome other industry players with cash who wants to co-invest. Crypto is not going away. We are still here. Let's rebuild. And I'm honestly not sure if this is supposed to be Binance's new PE arm, where they're going to basically gather up a lot of cash to just completely take over companies at a penny on the dollar, or if this is going to happen through some other method. I have absolutely no idea just quite yet. However, a very questionable part in that all as well is this right here. With PE firms, we all know they have to do some crazy due diligence because, well, you're trying to buy into a not necessarily stable company. And that's exactly kind of what he's describing here too, buying into them or helping them out with a recovery fund, which could potentially also be loans. We do not yet know. Crypto King asked a good question. How would FTX have even qualified as strong, but in a liquidity crisis? Their liquidity was an insolvent token they printed to use for marginalized loans, and CZ said, hey, you misread. I think liars or fraud never qualify as strong projects. This is for other projects in the ecosystem. And this, to be honest with you guys, might just include Binance-backed projects already, as obviously it's hard to exactly pinpoint what project is strong when you don't have insights on every single part of the books. For example, does Crypto.com qualify as strong? Are they liars? Well, it's hard to say unless you get really deep insights into all of that, but you probably won't until things really hit the fan, as of which point it might be too late. Now, to quickly come back on an earlier point, US Rep Sherman. Now, I should add, Sherman, I'm not exactly sure which Sherman this is, but if it's the one that I'm expecting, he said a lot of strange things about XRP and the way that that should be regulated. I believe that he said, for example, that US exchanges should all be in trouble for trading XRP at some point, but again, I'm not sure if that's the same Sherman. Quote, a great deal of attention has been given to former FTX CEO Sam Bankman-Fried's political donations to Democrats. Most of that was spent in primaries, mostly unsuccessful, not to help Dems beat the GOP. When you examine FTX efforts to influence Washington, you have to look at both CEOs, not just eccentric guy wearing the shorts. For years, I have advocated for Congress and federal regulators to take an aggressive approach to confronting the many threats to our society posed by crypto. I believe it's important now more than ever that the SEC take decisive action to put an end to the regulatory gray area. And again, I don't think that his words mean so much because I know it's the same Sherman. I don't like exactly what he says, usually. And this on its own is also not really good in any way, shape, or form. If the SEC had their way, they would have not had a gray area. They would have had a freaking blacklist. There would not be any, easy to follow guidelines. There'd just be if you've done this in the past, even though we didn't warn you, well, you're basically done for. You're basically bankrupt right now. However, that same thing cannot apply for some very privileged individuals, like, for example, Sam Bankman-Fried. And I really wonder if he's going to actually go to jail because, well, guys like BitBoy, they're going off pretty significantly on how there was literal fraud and literal negative, basically, intention for people to lose money and all that. He's basically wrapping a lot of this intention of wire fraud and all these different allegations. I wonder if with all the connections and the crazy structure that Sam Bankman-Fried set in place, if he's really going to do jail time or if there's just going to be some sort of dream that we have floating around somewhere. Because as far as I've read, Gary Gensler and Sam Bankman-Fried either both deserve jail time, that's a possibility, or just need to be investigated more thoroughly because, well, I personally think some shady stuff is going on right there. But I do want to make it clear that these are just my own allegations. I personally think these guys are absolutely awful at their jobs, respectively, and definitely should be investigated and maybe also see the jail. But it's just my own thoughts and allegation. I'm not saying that they've done anything wrong necessarily in terms of actual criminal activity for legal purposes. Now, on another caveat though, so for the last couple of days, we've been talking about some very interesting developments, a lot of them shared by Mario, as he has some crazy influence over on the FTX drama, over on his Twitter spaces that sometimes host tens of thousands of people watching at the same time. There's, however, a lot of misinformation going on, apparently, because of, for example, spoofing of tokens has been said right there, and, well, there's a bigger debate about it right now, about what exactly is true and what exactly is not true in this crypto space, as there's a lot of misinformation, and it's logically so, as it's the most trendy thing right now in years. For example, Crypto.com, the CEO, Chris, has spoken out many times that they're fine. And the reports that they showcase also seem to really look good. For example, the balance sheet itself, the literal balance sheet, which shows the liabilities. Well, apparently it's looking pretty good. And so then it's quite illogical for people to be this bearish on Crypto.com. But then there's, for example, guys like Martini Guy, who apparently have a couple Bitcoins still waiting to withdraw from Crypto.com, which is having some trouble. And honestly, I'm not sure exactly what to tell you, except for I took my money off of Crypto.com. I still have it on Binance. I still have it on Bybit. I still have it on BitGet. I still have it on a couple of other exchanges. I just try to make sure you're properly diversified and make sure that if you're keeping funds on exchanges, it's your trading funds. You know, I have to keep money on exchanges because I'm trading all the time. To add to the story, by the way, there's a couple interesting caveats that are being, I'd say, explored right now. It's interesting. Ben Armstrong, for example, BitBoy here, shared the Puppet Master. Dan Friedberg, he is busy scrubbing the internet of his existence. Don't let him plaster this everywhere. And it got 9,000 likes because apparently he's connected in all this as well. He was the chief regulatory officer at FTX. And apparently he's trying to get himself off of the internet. And basically BitBoy's trying to get all these people to some degree in trouble, or I shouldn't say it like that, at least to be held accountable for their actions, as well, they knew something was wrong, right? You can't be the chief regulatory officer and not know that things are really shady. But that story goes way crazier because even here, take a look at August of 2022. There's, for example, Bitfinex that basically shares a story about how the FDIC issued a cease and desist letter to FTX US. He's asking the question, who's Dan Friedberg from Excapsa? Do you know the company that made poker software that allowed employees to cheat at poker to make money and then said people that were just butthurt they lost at poker? Yeah, this one is legit and yada, yada, yada. I think the point he's trying to make is that this individual is not that afraid of representing some schemy scams type of clients. He's going on pretty far about it all. Right now, there's a really, really big question mark with the audits that have been done to FTX and whether or not things were done well. But my biggest question right now is what's going on in the back end in terms of the Gary Gensler, SEC, crypto, Sam Bankman-Fried situation. And so even though this was, I think, a pretty cool update, we have to come back in a couple of hours to explain every single thing that is going on the Ripple, SEC, Sam Bankman-Fried part of things, right? So again, guys, just look back on the channel in a couple of hours. I'll get you guys another juicy update on everything I think is important. And that was it for today's video. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you press the like button and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to try to post some breaking news videos whenever there's breaking news or so. Right now, this was just an update of all the facts that I've uncovered over the last couple of hours. I've been doing a lot of digging. And that was it for right now. See you guys later.